So we call on our committee secretary, Elizabeth Agas, to acknowledge the presence of the various resource persons who are here present.
Good afternoon,
With that, we
Senator.
recognize Beth and proceed with our business and the agenda for the day. I will have to disappear for a few minutes, in as much as the Commission on Appointments will be meeting in plenary shortly. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. And before we call on our committee secretary, we have here Senator Bong Revilla, one of the authors of the bill. Thank you. May opening statement ka?
No.
Okay, we're grateful to the senator who's one of the authors of our bills, and he has indicated that he has an introductory statement which we will insert into the record shortly. Thank you. We go back to our legislative committee secretary, Beth Agas, please.
Good afternoon, Senator Marcos. Good afternoon, Senator Revilla. For our public hearing today, the Department of Social Welfare and Development is represented by ASEC Irene Dumlao, CESO 4, Legislative Affairs Technical Staff. She is also with her support staff, Ms. Jean Ija Alodia Santiago and Mr. Wilson G. Dabu. The Department of Finance sent observers only. Ms. Astrud Jacinto, Ms. Rochelle Bato, and Ms. Sarah Conch.
I'm sorry, can you raise your hands so that I know where you are? Okay, there you are. Okay, way in the back. That's fine. In any case, we have in receipt the position paper of the DOF. Salamat.
The Department of Budget and Management is represented by Attorney Tricia Embaraan and Attorney Carlos M. Borja Jr. The Department of Interior and Local Government is represented by Attorney Gino Lavarias. However, he is in the other public hearing, but he signed his name as present. NEDA is represented by Director Girly Grace Casimiro Igbiten. The National Anti-Poverty Commission is represented by Sectoral Representative for Senior Citizen Sectoral Council, Ms. Salvacion S. Basiano. She is also with Ms. Maureen Mata from the council member, Persons with Disabilities Sectoral Council, and Ms. Nazara Cristia Laurel, the Policy Technical Officer. The NCDA, the National Council for Disability Affairs, is represented by Attorney Rialet Crisel Ramos, their Division Chief Management. And she is with Attorney Walter Jason Alaba, the Regional Program Director, as well as Ms. Cristel Manzano, Executive Assistant.
NCDA, National
National Council for Disability Affairs.
Yes, is that the one under the office of the president?
It used to be under the office of the president.
Ano na
Now it's
ngayon?
attached to the Responsibility Center.
It's attached. How was it created? I was looking for its mandate. I'm a little bit lost.
Okay. It was originally created under an executive order
That's right.
under the time of former President Marcos Sr. And then it used to be attached to the office of the president, but then later on it was transferred and attached to the DSWD.
Okay, so I was misinformed. I was told that it was still under OP. It's in fact attached. So attached, by attached you mean administratively or thoroughly?
Programs and policy coordination, Your Honor.
But budget falls under whom?
We have our separate budget,
Do you have
Senator.
another line item that's not DSWD?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where does it fall under?
Ah, we submit our budget pala po to DSWD.
So your budget constitutes part of the DSWD budget? So talagang DSWD na kayo? Wala
Yes.
nang OP?
Wala na po.
Okay, so it's not attached. It's no longer attached. That means it's directly under the DSWD as one of its agencies. Hindi na attached yan. Talagang under na.
Under 709, ma'am, they did not change. It's
What is
attached.
709, please?
Executive Order 709, the present charter of NCDA.
Who issued that? Is that the original executive order?
No, Your Honor.
2011. So I'm lost. 709? 208. Okay. No, but it says Office of the President. That's not the relevant one. It's the 2011. That's relevant, right?
Yes, yes,
The- mali- what you're pointing out is wrong. So, okay, 2011 was moved to DSWD.
Yes, Your
Okay,
Honor.
so that's relevant. I was misinformed. Thank you. Yes, so the word is no longer attached. You are actually an organic part of the department now. Thank you. Proceed.
From the National Commission for Senior Citizens, they are represented by Attorney Franklin Quijano, their chairperson and chief executive of the commission. He is also with Mr. Cliff Cabigon, their media consultant. From DOLE, they are represented by Ms. Jean Orsolino and Ms. Rosalinda Pineda, their division chief, Bureau Local Management. From the Regional Association of Women with Disabilities, their president, Ms. Jennifer V. Garcia, is here, as well as Ms. Annabel Roque, their department head, Provincial Social Welfare Development Officer of Pangasinan. The Pambansang Kapisanan ng mga May Kapansanan ng Pilipinas, an NGO, is represented by their president, Ms. Fe Corpus. Tahanang Walang Hagdan is represented by their Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Angelita Evangelista. The Philippine Institute for the Deaf is represented by Executive Director Julie Esguera. Life Haven Center for Independent Living is represented by their board member, Ms. Sheila May Agarao.
Yes,
With
I just like to say that I'm in receipt of your very lengthy position papers, and we've gone through them. So if it's all right, we'll insert them as part of the records, and we'll take them into consideration in the formulation of the committee report. But if you had any comments or additional insights into the issues being undertaken, we would appreciate if you no longer read in its entirety your position papers, but rather merely added any highlights or salient points that you would have in addition to the discussion. Kasi mahaba na yung position paper at marami na kayong isinaad doon eh. Very, very helpful comment. So let's not go through the whole thing again during the discussion para makatapos tayo ng mabilis. Thank you. Proceed.
She is with Mr. Macdarrell Lleno, their personal assistant of Sheila May Agarao. From the League of Pidaos of the Philippines, they are represented all the way from Zamboanga del Sur, Miriam Acosta Llanos, RSW, MPA, MAGD. The League of Provinces is represented by Ms. Angelica J. Sanchez, the Director for Policy Development. That's all, Senator. Angelica Sanchez.
Is there anyone here?
Madam Chair, it's supposedly Attorney Gino Lavarias from DILG.
Okay, thank you very much. So the agenda, as you're well aware, is quite copious. We have quite a few things to deal with. Yung una, no, yung social pension or disability support fund, that's Senate Bill 31, 501, 592. Some provisions, amending 7277, and that's Senate Bill 311. And the other set of bills are three bills dealing with the IDs. So unahin na muna natin yung social pension, and I'd just like to quickly go through this, being that the area of disability benefits, to my mind, has a long history of many bills already. Kung tutuusin, napakadami ng batas, pero kung bibilangin at aalamin ang talagang binibigay na tulong, napakakaunti. So, kung lilistahin natin ang ating mga batas na sumasapaw dito sa paksa ng ating mga PWD, andito na yung RA 7277, Magna Carta for Disabled. RA 10524, expanding the positions reserved. Ayan na yung dole yan, di ba? Alam natin yan, yung 1% na dapat PWD. At ito ay para sa gobyerno, requirement yan, pero sa private, recommendatory lamang. Tapos may RA 11650, ito naman yung public schools, di ba, na may special needs dapat, including the Learning Resource Center and a separate budget for special ed. No? So alam natin yan. Isa pa yung 11228, ito naman yung mandatory PhilHealth coverage. Tapos, meron rin tayo, yung sa local government code, if you will recall, we have section 17, and this has become a contentious issue where elderly and disabled persons already were devolved by the national government as responsibilities of the LGUs concerned. That's for both senior citizens and PWD. So we will go back to that later because the position of the DBM is inconsistent. We also have Executive Order 138 of 2021, devolving once again social welfare services for the elderly. We also have under the Bureau of Local Employment and the PESO offices, 'di ba? Meron rin tayong pang PWD, Field Job Net, Job Start, Government Internship. So that's what we have right now. I'm just going over this because patong-patong na magulo na, pero kung tatanungin mo anong natatanggap, halos wala pa rin. Kaya nga, so it's a long and extensive slew of laws, and yet they constitute very, very small contributions to the conditions of our PWD. Meron ring DOLE Integrated Livelihood and Emergency Employment Program. Department Order to 173-2017 for vulnerable and marginalized workers, including PWDs, to be provided grant access to their livelihood efforts. And also, we have under the SWD, Comprehensive Program for Children, PWDs. So that's from 0 to 59 years old. Ang coverage, and iba-ibang serbisyo to, community-based service, assistance for physical restoration, tuloy-aral, mainstreaming for the children, and then center-based services. And finally, the Employees Compensation Commission benefits for the PWD under PD 626, amended by EO 179, sickness, disability, etc., assistance of 10,000 pesos, therapy, and skills and entrepreneurial services under the extended katulong at gabay. So, napakarami po ng ating mga batas o executive order at iba't iba pang issuances. Pero kung aayusin natin sa ilalim ng isang disability support fund, talagang kinakailangan himayin natin ng maigi. Kasi may incentivization, tapos may exemption, tapos may sinasabi pang stipend or support fund. So medyo magulo siya at hindi masyadong naintindihan. Yung isa pang bagay na pinag-aabalahan ko, bakit sinasabi ng DOF, NEDA, DBM at iba pang mga ahensya na na-devolve na ang responsibilidad para sa ating PWD from the national government to local government. Kung tutuusin, yung mahiwagang Section 17 ng LGC, ng Local Government Code, na-devolve na rin yung senior citizens. Ang tanong, bakit nagbibigay pa ng budget ang national government sa senior citizens kung na-devolve na? Samantalang pinagkakait sa PWD ang pagbibigay ng national assistance mula sa national budget at sinasabi, bahala na yung LGU. Kung tutuusin, ang kanilang basehan, iisang provision sa LGU na binabanggit kasabay yung seniors at saka yung PWD. Bakit yung isa pwedeng pondohan, yung isa hindi? Doon ako nagtataka. So, andito naman yung DBM, ano? Diba, sino ba yung DBM, DOF? DOF kayo? Kalimutan ko. Sorry? Yes, your DOF. Yes. The question with the departments, with the economic departments is, why are we including the seniors? We're not naman, and we are refusing to include the PWD. I don't get it. Because, is there anyone from DBM? Wala. Yes, DBM. Attorney Tricia, the position paper of Secretary Amina is very, very clear that this has already been devolved. Ang tanong ko, napaka-inconsistent naman. Dinevolve ninyo yung PWD, pero papayagan yung seniors. What's the distinction? It's the same provision under the LGC.
Good afternoon po, Madam Chair. Opo. So, based po dun sa... Yes po.
Sorry, hold in abeyance. I'll just be present in the CA. Sorry.
Ay, sige, may extra para ma-insert dito. Kasi manghihingi yung stenographer. Ay, ayan po. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Kapag nag-send.
just had to report attendance at the Commission on Appointments. Let's go back to Attorney Tricia Baraan of the DBM. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon po, Madam Chair. We respectfully inform po that we have stated in our position paper na we are just currently proposing po to devolve yung auxiliary services for PWDs such as assistive devices. But currently po, we are still in the process of evaluating the devolution transition plans of the agency. So hindi pa naman po siya final. And at the same time, actually we have funding po from the JA for 2023 for under the DSWD po for assistance to persons with disability and older persons po.
Yes, we're aware of that. It's just that the logic defied us because there was a claim that PWDs could not be funded given that their care had been devolved. However, the provision cited is the self-same provision as that cited for seniors who are clearly much better funded under the GAA. Yun lang. Okay, thank you. In addition, it was recommended in many, if you don't mind, I'll just go straight to the question since you've already submitted very copious position papers. It was recommended that in lieu of developing a whole new PWD database system, the DOH Philippine Registry would instead be utilized. I think this is similar to what the NCSC does with the senior citizens. Kaya lang, sa ating nakita, sobrang liit nung listahan sa DOH. 'Di ba sa senior citizens, nasa 600,000 lang, more or less. Samantalang ang bilang natin, nasa 10% ng total population or close to that. Kaya, pag ginamit na naman natin ang DOH, yun lang ang bumabagsak sa PhilHealth or other systems ng DOH. Matatanggal na naman at mababaliwala yung karamihan ng PWD. Pareho nung sa seniors. Any comments, please? Yung registry ang magagamit natin ito, yan ang problema eh. Shall we use the DOH database? Kasi yun ang ginagamit sa seniors. And we already know how grossly inadequate it is. So I'm wondering, anong database ang gagamitin? Any comments? DOH, please? Anybody would like to comment?
Madam Chair, actually, the deaf community is around 8 million already. So as you can see, it's really that statistics we don't know where to get. So
Yeah,
I
that's
would-
right. I mean, everybody's banding about all
Yes.
kinds of numbers, 8 million, 10
Yeah.
million. Pero wala naman listahan. Pag humingi ka ng pangalan, ang tanging may listahan lamang, yung DOH. Ang problema, yung DOH, kulang-kulang naman. Kasi yung coverage lang nung mismong may PhilHealth o iba pang dokumento. Makakadali ka rin, pero kulang-kulang din sa GSI, SSSS kasi karamihan naman din nagtatrabaho. So, anong masasuggest po ninyo? Let's start. Maureen Mata, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, we have the PDAO or the Persons with Disabilities Affairs Office po or the focal or the MSWDO in every municipality or city wherein they issue the National Persons with Disabilities ID card po. So they have the numbers there. And then if they will be
I
able.
have another issue with that
Yes.
because having been a local government official for a long, long time, the differences in disability, diba? Yung total and permanent. And then all the different stages, disabled lang for example sa deaf, pero physically completely able otherwise, diba? So, paano yung ganun? Hindi ko nga maintindihan eh. Medyo mas komplikado. At least seniors, you have an absolute number. And even there, we are inadequately recorded. So, paano kaya, Miss Mata?
Opo, dahil
maaasahan yung ID na binibigay ng ating mga LGU? Alam ko LGU ko napakatagal na panahon eh.
Yes po, ma'am. So kung dahil po sa LGU po talaga kasi nag-i-issue ng ID, we just have to be strict on the disability. The version 3, I guess, that they had already, around 10 disabilities that they have there. So on the
So
basis,
specify yung disability.
it's already,
Ganon.
yes po, ma'am.
Okay.
So with the ID
So
that,
you're saying that we will enjoin the LGUs to be more specific about their IDs. Hindi lang sasabihin PWD.
yes, ma'am, because
Kasi alam natin, naging biruan na at bayaran yung PWD card. Alam naman natin yan, may racket dyan eh.
apparently it's true, ma'am.
Lahat na lang ng tao sa mundo, PWD eh.
Because
Tapos yung totoong PWD, hindi naman na napapangalagaan. Hindi na tama eh.
Opo. So, yun nga po ma'am, because with the issuance of the National PWD ID card, which should be based on the 10 classifications of disability that the guidelines had been with NCDA and the
Saan
department,
galing yung 10?
with the NCDA and Department of Health po. So they issued a version 3 of
Sigurado kayo, 10 lang ha? Kasi tuwing tumitingin ako, naiba eh. Are
based,
you sure 10?
10 po yung
Absolute na yan?
based on the guidelines po na nailabas po ma'am.
Okay, so 10. We just agree on the 10. Ganon?
For the moment po, ma'am, kasi disability is an evolving concept, ma'am. So, possibility po is magkaroon pa po ng
And then,
addition-
paano yung, if you're going to count on the LGUs, maasahan ba na sasabihan natin yung LGU? Paano ba?
Yes, ma'am. Because since they have issued the IDs, ma'am, they have the baseline data.
No, but we're already saying that you and I know perfectly well that some of those were fake, some of those were issued with no basis at all, and some were bought outright through bribery and corruption.
Based
So
on,
alam na natin yon, given na yon.
Yes,
Anong gagawin natin ngayon?
so, bali po ito, ma'am, ay kasi may bago na pong numbering po, no po, nung mga IDs na ito, they were strict on it by resubmitting all the requirements. Again, like for me, I'm an amputee, so I have to submit all my requirements
You
again.
mean to say ina-update regularly yan?
Every 3 years po ito, ma'am.
Every
Pero-
3 years.
Pero ngayon po, it's every 5 years na po, ma'am.
Ala, patagal ng patagal. So, 3 to 5 years ina-update. So you're saying we don't use the DOH kasi it's kulang? Ang gagamitin natin, LGU ID na lang?
Ma'am,
What's your position? I'm a little bit lost.
yeah.
Because some of the papers that were submitted, ang sabi DOH, stick to DOH para stricto. Sabi mo naman, yung LGU na lang, okay naman yung ID.
What the LGU has been doing, ma'am, came from the DOH and the NCDA.
Hindi rin hindi rin. Marami kaming linalagay na walang listahan sa DOH.
Opo.
Hindi yan they're not identical.
Yes, ma'am. Ang naging problem po kasi, ma'am, yung pagre-relay ng data from LGU going to DOH, ma'am. So, dun po nagkaroon ng gap on sending those informations
No,
po.
precisely. So my point is there are two suggestions pending. One is the DOH and the other one is the LGU. What are you saying?
Yeah. Through the LGU, ma'am, because the template has been given or
Kaya
from
nga,
the DOH.
But we've already admitted that the LGU listings are faulty for various reasons. So therefore, what do we do? And then the DOH naman is grossly inadequate. So what do we do? Saan tayo?
Centralized na lang po, ma'am.
Centralized saan?
Central database, ma'am, with DOH pa rin po ito, ma'am.
DOH pa rin, dagdagan na lang, ganon? Pero ilan ba, yeah, I see some.
Pero based on, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, let's let the others talk.
Sige, sige.
Yes, Miss Fe Corpus.
Opo. There are two kinds, the apparent and non-apparent.
Hindi, okay
For
lang
the
yun.
non-apparent, we will need the medical certificate from the DOH. So, pag apparent po, immediately the LGU can issue the ID po. Yun lang po dalawa ang dapat tingnan. Kapag non-apparent po, ibig sabihin hindi halata, kailangan po ang DOH and medical certificate po.
See, yeah, okay. Pero malabo rin yan. Pero okay lang, Miss Garcia.
Madam Chair, the system that we are using in the LGU is the DOH registry. So,
Kasingit yung pagkarami-raming PWD card na hindi totoo.
with that, Madam Chair, I cannot speak in behalf of the LGUs, other LGUs, but there are some scenarios like that. But as far as the system is concerned that we are only using one system, and that is the DOH registry.
And
I think
that's
it just
the same,
has.
10 categories. that
Yes,
you refer
ma'am.
to
Madam
earlier.
Chair, actually the version 4 of the DOH registry form has the 10 categories of disability. And it was just recently updated and forwarded to the LGU. So at this time, we are using that kind of form. And we are hopeful that we can gather all the persons with disabilities and hand in hand with the other organizations of persons with disabilities. We're also having partnership with them for us to encourage all the persons with disabilities.
But you're not a health worker, right?
I'm a registered social worker,
You're a
ma'am.
social worker.
Yes, ma'am.
Pero you are applying the DOH.
Yes, Madam Chair, as mandated by the DOH for us, the
Okay.
LGUs, in gathering the persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Miss Pineda, please.
Thank you po, Madam Chair. When it comes to the registry po, I guess we could use the DOH. But since you have mentioned earlier that there are some fake IDs coming from the LGU, siguro po on renewal, they have to go to the DOH na po. Para po DOH to verify if
Parang
even if the
labo
ID is
nun.
not fake
Mas
po.
mahigpit pa yung renewal kesa sa acquisition.
If that's the only way we could ano po yung
Alam
data
mo,
and
hindi
statistics.
mangyayari yan.
So that yun lang po yung nakikita ko na
No, you have to
pwede.
get it right at the outset, and then the renewal is all
Yes.
but automatic. Imposible yung sinasabi mo na i-check na naman yung renewal.
For the validation purposes lang po ng DOH, just to check on the database. If let's say for example, if a certain local government unit was able to submit the names, and then for the renewal, siguro po they could get a certification from the DOH that he or she
Parang
is
mas
really.
mahirap yung sinasabi mo. Anyway, I think Attorney Ramos, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, allow me to just make some clarifications. Earlier, the version of the DOH registry was mentioned. Actually, we are already at version 4.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to the process, while the LGUs are utilizing the DOH system, the data does not come from DOH but emanates from the LGU because the application springs from the
I'm
LGU.
sorry, come again. I didn't understand.
Okay, so there is a system, the
Okay, the
PRPW.
system is derived from the DOH, but
Yes.
is applied by the LGU.
Yes,
No,
Your
that's
Honor.
precisely why I'm asking. Because clearly, those applying it are the social welfare officers. They are not health workers.
Yes, Your Honor.
So they are using DOH parameters as social welfare workers. Obviously, they will do it to the best of their ability, but they are still not trained health practitioners. That's my point.
Yes, Madam Chair. However, we saw that point and we tried to simplify the procedure so that it will be easy, even though it's not a health worker. For one, like what was mentioned a while ago by Ms. Fe Corpus, if your disability is apparent,
Yes.
then you don't need to present a medical certificate anymore to the PIDAW. It is only when your disability is non-apparent that the PIDAW requires you to submit a certificate of disability. Now, just
I see. So that's what Ms. Corpus was saying.
Yes,
Hindi
but-
na kailangan ng medical certificate kung apparent. Kapag
Yes.
non-apparent lang, tsaka na lang hihingi.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the
also,
medical certificate will come from any doctor or just the DOH?
not the DOH, Madam Chair.
Sorry?
Not the DOH, but a doctor specializing on that condition. Or in the absence of a
Wait,
private doctor.
specializing in that condition. Paano
On
maghahanap nun sa probinsya?
In the absence of a specialist, Madam Chair, in
Any
the
doctor?
guidelines, any doctor in the city government or city or municipality
Oh, teka,
government.
teka. You're talking about all sorts of different people here. Are we talking about the DOH?
Not the DOH.
Not the DOH, but kanina sabi mo, any medical practitioner if in the absence of a specialist?
Any
Asahan mo walang specialist sa rural area.
Yes, so in the rural area, in the administrative order issued by NCDA in consultation also with the sector, so if there is no specialist, then a health officer from the LGU will suffice. So a certification from the health officer of the LGU. So
Health officer, you mean
doctor.
the MHO?
Yes, yes.
So MHO or sa barangay?
Any,
RHU, MHO, sino?
it does
No,
not
let's be
specify.
specific. Kasi magiging magulo na naman yan.
RHU, Your Honor.
RHU?
Yes.
MHO?
Um,
Walang tawaran, you have to say. Oo.
Oh, ma'am, the administrative order does not specifically state as long as it's an authorized local government health officer.
Hindi, dapat, in other words, it's a government doctor.
Yes.
It cannot be a private doctor.
It can be.
Oh,
if
it can. O, kaya nga eh.
no.
Alam mo, dapat hindi tayo malabo eh.
Okay, so I'll repeat it, ma'am. So preferably it is a doctor specializing on the condition. Which condition? It depends on the disability. So
O,
for
sige,
example,
but given the situation
given
and the
that there is
reality of the
none,
rural communities, anong mangyayari?
then a government health doctor, government health officer.
Well, presumably all doctors have to do with health, but government lang.
Yes, as the rules stand now. But of course, that can be.
Hindi, I don't know. I'm asking you nga, ano ba mabuti?
As the rules stand now, yes, government, Madam
So,
Chair.
kailangan government doctor, RHU, MHO, yung sa ospital, miski sino, basta gobyerno.
If general, yes, Your Honor.
Anong if general?
Because we're going back now under the rules, it should be issued by a specialist. So if you're deaf,
Wala na nga eh.
then government.
99%
Pag
of
wala,
them, wala.
pag wala po, government po. Government
Basta
doctor. Pag
government
wala.
doctor. O
Yes po.
sige. Okay, specialist or if in the absence will be a government doctor. Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Tama ba yun? Are we happy with that?
So ma'am, given that, I would think
Hindi,
that
kasi yung non-apparent, mamomroblema rin tayo dyan sa doktor.
pag non-apparent,
Government
di na po
doctors
kailangan.
will not be capable, perhaps, of certifying non-apparent disabilities?
No need na
I
po
don't
for
know,
them
I'm
to
guessing.
certify, Your Honor.
Sorry?
No need na po for them to certify. So pag nakita po nung pidaw,
non-apparent nga.
non-apparent, sorry.
Di ba yung
Yeah.
apparent,
No
wala
need.
ng medical
Yes.
certificate.
Mm.
Bayaan na natin, Diyos ko.
Yes.
Pero yung non-apparent, we're
Kailangan.
talking about the non-apparent, yan ang problema.
Mhm.
In the absence of a specialist, do you think the general practitioner or whoever happens to be there in the periculture center, the RHU, the MHO, or government hospital will be able to certify a non-apparent disability?
If ability, yes, they will be. But I think the reasoning behind limiting it to government doctors is to prevent nga po yung nabanggit nyo kanina na minsan may mga doctors lang na nag-i-issue ng certificate of disability kahit wala naman talaga. I think yun lang naman po yung rationale
Hindi, yung
behind it.
fear natin dito mas lalo pang lalaganap yan.
Mhm.
Kasi nga they're certifying something that they have no competency in. So, okay lang, di ba?
But yes, yun lang naman po yung rules as they stand. But of course, they can
Okay,
change.
we're just trying to get
Yeah.
to a better place, right? Sige. Okay. Right. So the government doctor for now is the one we're stuck with, right? Let's think of ways to make it better so that non-apparent disabled persons are better treated, no? Sige. And then okay. The other issue here is the Yes, would anyone like to share at this point? Yeah, the other issue here, of course, is the budget, right? Of course, the economic managers are rightly concerned by the lack of fiscal space, and the 2,000 pesos comes to 17 odd billion, which isn't burning a hole in our pockets right now. So, napakalaki nun. Furthermore, DBM has rightly pointed out that there are already existing under previous laws exemptions and other incentives. But syempre, hindi naman natin nararamdaman yun on the ground. Ano? Wala naman ramdam yun. Yeah. Yun ang binabanggit na marami na raw binigay na 1% of positions, public school, Magna Carta, discounts, VAT, etc. are already being provided. Pero, you and I know, hindi man totoo yun. Wala naman akong nararamdaman ganun eh. But, like, for example, I was even going to recommend na dapat may sanctions na. May penalties na sa mga LGU and public buildings that do not comply with accessibility requirements. Kasi it's more honored in the breach, di ba? Mas maraming violation kesa sa sumusunod eh. Sa totoo lang. So, yeah, it's an exercise in Ilocos Norte, for example, to sit in a wheelchair and try to go from the airport to the capital and go home. And we all know it's virtually impossible to do so without assistance from many, many people, in fact. So that's been the problem. So let's see. There is an estimate for a budget, di ba parang may 2,000 pesos na sinasaad ng ibang bills? What are your thoughts? Are these, the amount is very large in terms of the actual financing. At the same time, it's also questionable whether it will be of any real help, if it will actually impact on anyone. Any comments, please? There are suggestions that therapy and other free services would be more helpful rather than an outright stipend. And that phase one could actually be a series of phases, hindi sabay-sabay. So, Sheila Agaraw, yes?
Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Chair. So regarding po doon sa nabanggit nyo na there are already existing laws and programs and services for persons with disabilities, yes, it is very true, but it's not enough. For example po, for the discount that we have, it can only be availed po of people who have the services in their communities. Kung may restaurant sa lugar mo, kung merong drugstore sa lugar mo, ma-avail mo siya. So,
Yes, we
kung meron
already-
kung meron kang pambili, ano mo siya, no? So,
Yes, we already assumed that. Ang
Opo.
tinatanong ko ngayon, yung 2,000 pesos na rin-recommend.
Opo.
Kasi talagang umaaray tayong lahat sa total nun. Laki-laki eh.
Opo.
And at the same time, may nagsasabi na kahit ibigay mo, hindi naman ganun kalaking tulong yon.
Opo. Yun po, based po sa aming...
So anong dapat nating gawin para makatulong ng makatotohanang tulong, alam mo yun,
Yes
na nadadama talaga imbes na yun nga, maraming exemptions, incentives, discount, pero sa totoo lang hindi naman na-avail yun eh.
Opo. Yes po, Madam Chair. The 2,000 pesos po is based po dun sa study namin, kung magkano po yung nagagastos ng isang household para po sa isang pamilyang may kapansanan in terms of their expenses po sa transportation and medical services. Ilan lang po yun sa expenses nila. Yes po, totoo, hindi po siya sapat at hindi lang po ito yung solusyon because as you have said, we have to make our environment accessible and also we have to make support services in the community. So ito pong 2,000 pesos na to would be a support po doon sa mga bagay pa na ipoprovide ng ating pamahalaan sa ating pong mga persons with disabilities. And it can also be used po to address other disability-related costs such as having a support po no sa mga personal assistants who are always most of the time po are family members no na hindi na po for example makapagtrabaho sapagkat kailangan po nilang tulungan yung mga kapamilya po nilang may kapansanan. So yun po ang pinaka-essence po kaya bakit po siya 2,000 pesos. Ayun po.
That's right. Ang realidad, alam natin na talagang walang pera ng ganyan eh. Okay, Miss Llanos, please.
Okay po.
Baka may suggestion kayo na iiba or maayos natin to kasi gusto natin tumulong, walang ganong kalaking pera. May suggestion nga na i-face na lang. 3 taon bago sabay-sabay kasi sobrang laki eh.
Opo.
Okay.
Para naman sa League of People of the Philippines, alam natin na yung 2,000, kung batihan natin ang actual,
Oo, mas malaki talaga.
talagang malaki talaga kailangan ng isang
Sa pera,
person with
may
disability. Oo, pero kailangan din natin timbangin, alam din ng sektor na kulang ang pera ng ating gobyerno, so kailangan intindihin din natin. So win-win solution ang nakita namin sa 2,000, ma'am.
I see.
At tapos, yung tungkol naman sa data, ma'am, as of now, talagang malayo yung data ng PRPWD ng DOH at saka actual na hawak ng mga pilaw ng mga name of warm body. Na sa amin kasi ang mga pangalan ng warm body at kami ang nagbibigay ng nandyan sa frontline offices ang mga person with disability affairs offices of the Philippines. Pero lang, magkaiba ang may problema, may data ng PRPWD and sa Pinaw dahil hindi po lahat ng LGU merong Pinaw. Hindi po lahat ng implement ng Republic Act 10070 malaking tulong ito na pag-usapan natin ngayon para mauliga talaga ang lahat ng local government unit regardless in ang plot. At ilan po ang mga person with disability. Regardless kung ilang taon yan, we have to give them the services that they need. Talagang na-appreciate ko po si Madam Chair at sabi niya na ang dami-dami na kong bakas sa Pilipinas. Pero, tanungin namin yung mga kasamahan namin, talagang hindi po ramdam ng nakababa. Mas naramdaman ko po ngayon sa puso mo, Madam Senator, ang gusto mo talagang mangyari sa sektor. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, thank you. Pero naghanap tayo ng solusyon kung paano ayusin to at gawan ng paraan kasi napakahirap. Sino pang hindi lahat magsalita na, dadaldal natin, no? Teka muna. Saan ba tayo mag-umpisa? Kay Miss Evangelista po.
Magandang hapon po, Madam Chair.
Magandang hapon. Daming alis.
Yun pong sa Social Pension Fund, ang sa tahanan walang hagdanan po kasi ako, may mga trabaho naman po kami doon. Pero ang talaga pong hinihiling din namin, sinusuportahan po namin itong bill na ito para po makadagdag sa panggastos po talaga. Kasi being a disabled, ang dami po talagang extra expenses like medicine, assistive devices, pera po doon sa mga carers na kailangan din namin pong bayaran. Pero yun po,
nga, kaya nga, actually, ang problema natin, ang dami-daming batas. Ayokong mauwi ito sa batas na hindi pinopondahan, hindi inaaksyonan, hindi na i-implement. Dalan-dalan na rin ang ating mga senior council. Alam na ninyo yan, tagal-tagal na ng mga batas, hindi naman nagagampanan, di ba? Ayokong mauwing ganon. Gusto ko na may pera na doon. Ayokong irresponsibilidad ang mangyari na pasa ka ng pasa ala tsamba. Kasi ilang beses na nabigo yung ating mga kababayan na may kapansanan.
Yes, ma'am.
Sang katutak yung batas, wala naman nararamdaman, wala naman tulong na makatotohanan.
Malaki
So,
nga po yun.
ayoko magpasa. Sabihin ko, okay, promise ko, 2,000, dagdagan pa natin, 5,000, kung ano-anong pinagsasabi. Pero, alam mo, kahit sinasabi nila, nambobola yung mga politiko, dapat naman, at least mga lahati naman sa totoo.
totoo po yun.
Wala, natatawa si Attorney Quijano kasi mayor din yan, politiko din yan eh. Hindi naman pwedeng 100%
Opo na
pangako na laging napapako.
Yes po.
So I'm looking for a way, baka naman maipon natin, meron ba tayong malilikom sa DOH, sa DepEd, sa DSWD? Di ba pwedeng ikumpuni yan? Kasi meron rin naman disability services sa DOH natin. Di ba alam naman natin yun? DSWD, sinabi na nga ni Attorney Trish, na talaga naman may pera dyan sa DSWD, hindi nga lang sapat. Tapos, andyan din sa DepEd, hindi ko alam, simut-simutin natin yung mga special learning. Although, ang laki na ng pinutol doon. Sa totoo lang, marami ng bawas dyan. Kaya, na-reinsert siya sa budget. Naghahanap lang ako kung saan sana makakuha ng iba't ibang budget. Yun
Madam
lang.
Senator.
Naghahanap talaga ako. At,
Madam Senator.
ang seniors noon kasi, sila rin nagsolusyon ng sarili nila dun sa Centenarians Act para makapagbigay sa 80 years old, 90 years old. Ang solusyon nila ay paghati na lang yung centenarians. So tinanggap ko yon kasi magandang solusyon yon. Ngayon, naghahanap na rin ako ng pera para makatulong ng totoo na hindi naman masyado nakakabigat na sigurado ka sa umpisa pa lang hihindian na ng economic team.
Madam Senator, please.
Oh yes,
Here.
Ms. Matag.
Yes po. Hello po ulit, Madam Chair. I guess kung meron po tayong, baka po pwedeng ipasok sa General Appropriations Act po sana ito. For example, sa
Precisely.
DepEd po, ma'am,
Precisely yung GAA, pigang-piga na
tinanggal na rin po doon yung sa...
Ang dami nang tinanggal
Opo,
Kaya
tinanggal
nga
din po yung sa
GAA,
amin.
mahirap na pilitin natin na isaksak na naman yung 17 billion ba na total ng 2,000.
Yeah. Siguro, Madam Chair, example lang po ako for DepEd. Aside from the infrastructure po or the other learning materials to make it accessible, baka po pwedeng doon yung for children with disabilities po natin.
Nandun siya sa DepEd. Na-reinsert nga, pero bahagi lamang ng Kongreso. Natanggal na yun
Opo. And for example, person with this...
Sagad na yun Actually, kulang siya Dahil nga sa kwan. Pero tignan natin.
Opo. For example po sa DOH naman po, baka doon din naman po yung ibang mga kukuha din po tayo ng big or big small amount. May ganun po ba? Big small. Parang ganun din po for the GAA din po, madam. And for example sa DOLE, parang ganun din po since may mga employees
Dole,
tayong with
walang
disabilities.
ang Dole walang budget para sa PWD. Ang Dole, sila lang implementer ng 1%. At saka may priority sa grant, sa tupad, sa cash for work, may priority. Tapos they're compelled to hire them. Yun nga lang, wala naman silang hiwalay na budget para lamang sa PWD. That's the problem Sino pa bang merong pera dyan? DBM kayo, expert dyan.
Department of Transportation din po, ma'am, for commuters with disabilities, for example.
May budget ba doon? Parang wala. Wala naman silang requirement doon na maglagay ng assistive devices or other...
Pero may isa po akong kaming naisip, Madam Chair, with regard to paano possible po yung na-mention nga po ng lahat na through Persons with Disabilities Affairs Office po, baka po pwedeng yung accessibility or ibang mga budget po, pumasok po siya through DILG po na magkaroon, parang part of the seal of good housekeeping po, baka possible pong...
Ang problema, isa ako sa hain nung Mandanas case at gobernador ako kasama ni Governor Mandanas nung panahon na yon. Ang nangyari, sa dami ng deduction ng DBM at ng DOF, lumiit pa ang pondo ng local government. Yan ang problema. Yung IRA na inaasahan namin lalaki ng maging NTA, lumiit pa yung NTA. Ang gulang nga Hindi ko nga maintindihan paano nangyari yun. Pero, iiyak din ang LGU. Ang Pangasinan, 50 million, magkano yung nabawasan? Ang laki-laki ng nabawas sa Pangasinan. Ang laki ng bawas. Ha? Malaki talaga yung bawas kasi lahat tayo, tinamaan yan
Opo.
Yun nga yung inaasahan na lalaki, lumiit lalo, tapos binagsakan pa ng sangkatutak na plans and programs and projects. Pinas-on sa LGU, pero wala namang budget. Lumiit pa nga yun dati. Kaya nga, yun ang problema natin kung paano tayo mag-iisip nito. I think there is no one in this room or probably elsewhere who objects to the intent of helping our PWD. Lahat tayo sang-ayon dyan for me, it's overdue. Talaga naman overtime na to kung bakit hindi pa nagagawa to. Nagsabi na tayo ng Magna Carta, wala naman nangyari. Nagsabi na tayo ng 1%, wala pa rin nangyari. Ibig sabihin, lahat tayo sang-ayon dito. Kaya lang, kung pwede lang, pag-isipan natin, saan tayo kukuha ng pera, saan tayo maghahanap ng solusyon.
Madam
Yun.
Chair.
Yes po.
Meron lang kaming mga usapan ng mga pilaw. Tama kung inabi mo, marami na kumaka. Pero walang mga penalty. Kaya hindi tumutunod ang mga dapat tumunod. Why not put ang penalty ulit? Halimbawa, mga accessibility. Kung walang accessibility, lagyan ng penalty. At yun, malilikom natin ang mga pera. Halimbawa, sa 1%, ang gobyerno na manlitin na supplement na 1% ng employment ng mga person with disability. Na hanggang ngayon, meron pa rin mga LGU na walang person with disability na na-employ. Kahit na yung mga pilaw. Yung ibang pilaw, hindi naman person with disability na kahit yun, nag-tibit in the end of the law, naglagay na opisina para sa person with disability pero nilagyan na hindi person with disability. Paano yung 10.2 noon? Paano yung 1% implementation of the law? Lahat ng baka, anuhin natin, itingnan natin. Yan na mga penalty. Sinadong marami tayong manilikom na mga,
Tama.
ano yan.
Ang problema, yung sa penalties, paparusahan mo, pero wala ka naman makukuha pera. Yun ang problema. So, ako, sang-ayon ako sa'yo. Ang nakakahiya pa, ang lumalabag sa mga batas tungkol sa PWD, gobyerno mismo. Mga public buildings, national agencies, hindi lang LGU. Marami talagang in violation. Pero, palibasa wala namang parusa, walang pakialam lahat. Sige-sige lang sila. Okay, Miss Sanchez, please.
Yes, Madam
Naghahanap ako
Chair.
ng pera, wala
I
pa
just-
kayong idea.
Ano na lang namin, Madam Chair, we just like to put it on the record na we are not against the social pension. However, we would like to manifest na please, parang awa nyo na po, hindi po kaya ng LGUs yan. Yes po.
Inunahan na kita.
Na-mention na po yung mahiwagang Section 17, pero we must understand yung mahiwagang Section 17 po encompasses all the sectors. So ang
Sorry,
versus
come again?
the Section 17 encompasses all the sectors.
No, it doesn't. It only mentions explicitly seniors and PWD.
Meron pa pong
Marginalized.
marginalized sectors. So that's only just two of the different sectors po. And then yung 17 billion na po na pinag-uusapan natin, halos na po yan, 1% ng budget ng buong that's around 1.5% of the NTA of all LGUs. So medyo hindi po kaya ng LGUs. Yes po.
Bibigay sa LGU. Ako
Madam Chair, inuunahan ko na lang rin
Hindi, ako
po
nauna,
with the
kanina pa ako
economic team because yung sa EO 138 po na despite the decision of the President to defer the implementation of EO 138, na pinag-uusapan pa rin po natin ang devolution transition plans.
Madam Chair? Yes, thank you po. I think instead of tayo po ay maging reactive, I think we should be proactive. I think the best way to solve this is to reconvene this group and find ways. I think that's the important. We find ways how to get the money. Kasi kung sasabihin natin na we don't have this, we don't have that, then it won't be happening po. So I think meron pong paraan kung magtutulungan po yung ating DBM, the NCDA, other offices here, and yung syempre yung office nyo po and other organizations po. And we could submit again another paper po to you to better explain po kung saan tayo pwedeng kumuha ng pera. Thank you po.
Yes, I have in half an hour session starting, no? So I'm just trying to put on the table the fact that we're all in full support of finally actualizing the help and assistance necessary for the PWDs. Pero alam naman natin ang realidad na laging kulang ang pera. Yung senior citizens, nauna na, pero alam naman nila ng ng taimtim yung problemang dinadanas, no, sa pag-release ng pera. Talagang malaking problema yan. So pinangungunahan na natin, maghanap na tayo, no? It's a real problem. So 3:30 na pala yung session. So okay din. Anyways, so tuloy-tuloy lang. Isa yung problema ng pera. The other issues also have to do with the setup, ano, the administrative structure. Kasi, ang nangyari, yung senior citizens may sariling konseho. Yung ibang bills dito ang sinasabi that we should also have a PWD council. And we have found with the senior citizens that the council has run into so many problems. You haven't even got employees. So that at
We
the
already
end,
have.
yeah, but very few. And they're unable to implement so many of the senior citizen programs and projects. So gusto ba natin mapunta rin doon? Yan ang tanong. Or do we remain under the umbrella of the DSWD like you do now? All of you are under DSWD. Kailangan bang ganon? Kasi yung hirap at yung tagal, yung sobrang delay na dinanas sa senior citizens, ayaw na natin maulit yon. Baka naman mali ang admin structure na ganon. Huwag nang hiwalayin. Andyan na lang sa DSWD, maglagay na lang ng dedicated section. Tapos, hindi pa magulo. Pati sa budgeting, ayan, sumasang-ayon kagad yung NEDA at yung economic. Kasi alam ko, may effort tayo sa gobyerno ngayon na mag-right sizing. Tapos magdadagdag na naman tayo ng iba pang ahensya. Yun ang kinagagalit ng economic managers. Nagbabawas na nga, magdadagdag na naman, parang ang gulo natin. So, yun, that's another thing to think of. Anybody wanted to butt in? Yes, Miss Corpus.
Kablaawad da ka, Senator, iti naimbag nga malim. Regarding sa budget, we are well aware that any support fund distributed individually to indigent PWDs will not be enough and will greatly deplete funds. Our proposal and recommendation is in this principle. If you give man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Persons with disability are needing work. We are needing livelihood programs. And kung ilagay doon ang maliit na budget and it will get profit, doon po manggagaling yung ikakadagdag sa fund. Kung anong meron galing sa IRA o kaya galing sa iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno. However, Madam Senator, sana po ay magkaroon ng isang ahensya ng gobyerno para sa persons with disability. And I would like to say this thing kung pwede po. We hear everyone say inclusion, no one left behind. There is much room for improvements. There are exciting reasons for optimism. We will not let go of the opportunity to liberate the sector from its historical second or third-class citizenship status among the human species. Beyond representation, sana po ay we feel persons with disability, with all the batas, we feel we are excluded. No inclusive database, no comprehensive programs and services, and no National Commission of Persons with Disability. Sana po ay magkaroon po ng ahensya ng gobyerno para maisama, channel lang po ito. Like in the beginning, when there was Presidential Decree 1509, the National Commission at naging National Council po. Sana maibalik po sa Office of the President.
Okay. How much budget are you receiving now, NCDA? Discrete to the agency.
Below 50. Below 50 million, Your Honor.
Sorry?
Below 50 million.
So much?
Below 50 million.
Zero? Ano lahat yan? Below 50.
Roughly 36 million, Your Honor.
36M?
Yes, roughly.
Okay. They're getting 36M. Right. Yes, you were going to say something.
Yes, Your Honor. If I may suggest an idea as a source of
36
fund.
million is very, very far away from the 17 estimated in this bill.
Yes. If I may suggest an idea regarding one possible source of fund. So we have the sin tax law, and a portion of that goes to the sustainable development goals. Now, I remember attending a meeting with NEDA a few weeks back regarding the idea of how the percentage allotted for sustainable development goals from the sin tax law will be divided among the different sectors needing it. So we're not saying that the persons with disability sector will get the entirety of it, but we can perhaps get something from it because promoting the rights of persons with disabilities is in line with the SDGs.
Is that actually enforced, the SDG portion? Parang wala akong nakikitang ganun. Napag-usapan pero walang nangyari.
Yes, Senator. It's in the law, but hindi pa po siya. The NEDA is in discussion with DB on how we can get the money for the SDGs under the syntax law. It's in the law, but there's no
know.
money yet in
I never saw anything
in
move
NEDA. Yes, Senator.
in that direction.
Yes, Senator. Just a recommendation on who will implement. The NEDA strongly supports the suggestion that the DSWD should be the one who's leading the distribution of the support allowance. Asek Dumlao is smiling at me because we know that the SWs already had that capacity to implement such program, and it will minimize the administrative cost po in implementing the program kasi on top of the 17 billion that we are talking about, hindi pa kasama din yung mga administrative costs in implementing the program. And
Yes,
then
there are quite a few legislators actually who want to reverse what occurred with the Senior Citizens Council, with all due respect, because of the delays and the problems that were incurred. Ayaw na nila gumawa ng mini DSWD sa bawat marginalized sector. Parang magkakaroon ka ng mini DSWD for seniors, mini DSWD for PWD, for solo parents, for each and every group. Parang nakakahilo na. So, yun yung sentimiento ng napakaraming mambabatas.
Apo. And then
For a change, hindi namin katunggali ang NED dyan.
And Senator, on the budget, remember during the social pension at the onset po nung implementation social pension, we did a progressive realization. By age yung ginawa. For first year, hindi naman siya binigay kaagad ng up to 65 years old and up. So inuna yung pinaka-oldest. So just a suggestion for this kung hindi po
Ako na,
talaga.
hanggang ngayon, napakalaki pa ng utang.
Oo nga po.
Samantalang sa kabila nun, nagpasa na naman kami ng additional
Additional, yes
500 to make a total of 1,000. Hindi pa nabubuo yung 500.
Oo nga po, Senator. So for us to be able, dahil wala nga pong pera, no, we would like to suggest a progressive realization type of implementation as well. Perhaps, baka, for instance, for the first 1 to 2 years, we cover muna yung mga yung mga may severe functional disabilities, and then move towards moderate, and then move towards mild until we cover everyone, and also while fixing the database that we have. Yun po, Senator.
Madam Chair. Ako po si Sheila. Ayan po, I agree po with ma'am no, about the progressive realization. In fact, dun po sa hinain namin na version po ng batas.
Actually,
Yeah.
nabanggit ko na yan na perhaps a 3 to 5 year program is more realistic. We can't do it all at once.
Opo.
It's too big bite to chew off straight away.
Ang amin pong mauuna sana sa version po namin, Senator, would be children with disabilities. Para po,
Yes, I saw that in your position paper. You had the children and then recipients of 4-piece.
actually
Hindi
po,
ko maintindihan yan. Meron na nga silang 4-piece. You mean to say the children of the poor. These are
children with
children or
children with disabilities po, 17 and below po.
no, I understand that. Pero
Opo.
yung 4-piece, alin doon? May 4-piece na nga sila, magdodoble pa?
Based po sa study, yes po, magdodoble po. Kasi based po sa study namin, hindi po talaga sapat yung nare-receive po. The disability support allowance po would be complementary to other social protection schemes
Pero
received
the
po.
argument can be made that they're already receiving something from the government. Bakit nagdodoble sila samantalang yung iba, zero?
Sapagkat po, yun nga po, yung gastos po ng families na with
Hindi,
disability.
kasi marami ring mahihirap na hindi nagko-qualify sa 4-piece. Halimbawa, walang anak na maliit. So, kahit 4-piece ka, sana talagang hindi ka magka-qualify, wala kang matatanggap. Maraming PWD na ganon.
Yes po, totoo po yun. And actually po, even the persons with disabilities who are not identified as poor po, marami silang disability-related extra costs at even sila po, nalalaglag sa poverty because, mas mataas yung gastusin nila compared sa mga households na walang disability. So, we are pushing po that it would cut across all persons with disabilities.
Okay,
po.
I think this deserves further discussion on a more technical medical level. I
Yes
don't
po.
think we're qualified at this juncture. Siguro ang mabuti dito, lahat tayo sang-ayon na mabuti na mag-umpisa kahit kulang-kulang. Kahit stage 1 lang o year 1 hanggang year 3 hanggang year 5. Katulad na nangyari sa senior citizen stipend. At least umpisa na muna natin. Kaya lang kinakailangan siguro alamin natin mula sa doktor at sa iba pa kung saan tayo magmumula. Yung severe na binabanggit ni Director Igtiben at yung children na nabanggit na rin, siguro timbangin natin kung alin talaga ang pagsisimulan. Let me say that there's no right answer. Kahit saan ka magpa-prioritize, may magagalit kasi talagang kulang Talagang kulang.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Attorney
may I
Piano,
make a
please.
comment over the issue of data and database? I think what you've mentioned is really very important. If DOH has certain perspective, and you have DSWD and you have DILG and the local governments, I think there has to be an integration activity, a workshop of sorts, so that the data will be collected and will be reliable. Otherwise, I don't think the funds will even be enough. And there's a possibility there is double counting and double payments.
Yes, that's right. We've had so many problems with the senior citizens in that regard. And ang ending is, ang ginagamit nating listahan yung pinakamaliit, yung pinakakulang. That's a really lousy compromise. So actually, we've been discussing with the DSWD, tapos na yung listahanan. Listahanan 3 is the last. And then the CMGP is now going to kick in on the local government and DILG part. And we probably have to align with the DOH and the PSA as well. Kasi iba-iba talaga yung kanilang lista at napakagulo talaga. So the database is the beginning and end of everything. Wala tayong pagtuturingan pag wala listahan. Okay, somebody else wanted to have a word, Miss Esguerra?
Well,
I'm desperately looking for brilliant inspiration and ideas here.
correct me if I'm wrong. I think all government agencies have that 1% to alleviate poverty. So maybe we can slice from it.
What do you
Well, according to some of my friends, like Benny Abante, the
1%?
1%,
No.
there is that 1% budget to
No.
alleviate poverty.
It's first time I hear of it. I was the governor for a
mentioned.
long time. Parang wala. Ang sinasabi, yung sa DOLE, 1% ng empleyado sa bawat ahensya ng gobyerno ay kailangan manggaling sa hanay ng may kapansanan. Yun yung sinasabi ni Miss Llanos na hindi naman nangyayari.
So I was
Talagang hindi nangyayari. Pero 1% budget, walang ganon. Kasi bawal yun Labag yan sa local government code, di mo pwedeng pakialaman yung
I was
local
misinformed. It came from actually Dr. Ofi Carage, and then she's the wife of Jem Carage. Another solution could be to categorize in 3 sections.
First time I hear of it, sorry.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me more.
17 billion, syempre malaki, no? So pag kinategorize natin na itong portion na to would benefit from the 2,000 pesos, no, pension, pwede siya doon. Pwede rin naman employment, kagaya ng sinasabi kanina dito, no, na yung mga pwedeng magtrabaho, hindi na kailangan tumanggap ng ganong pensyon. Bigyan na lang ng trabaho. Yung isa naman, one-time fund, isang section naman ng PWD, one-time fund, pang negosyo niya kasi hindi naman siya papasok ng trabaho, hindi siya mag-a-apply, pero may pang negosyo siya sa kanyang maliit na community. Na
Ako
hindi
yung pang negosyo niya, mas malaki sa 2,000 yun. Ang
Pang
kapital ay mas
sari-sari.
mataas.
Para one time pong
Tapos sa halaga ba naman ng sa cost of living at sa halaga ng pagkain ngayon, saan ka
one
aabutin ng
time
2,000?
pang negosyo like pang sari-sari store o kaya magtitinda siya sa paleg. So it's a one-time cost. So pag nag-slice tayo ng budget na yun, hindi na ganun kalaking budget. Kasi yung isang portion, hindi pera ang bibigyan natin trabaho. Parang
Yes, Miss Garcia. Yes, thank you very much. Yes. But you're right. I mean, yung mga pwede naman magtrabaho, bakit bibigyan? Unahin muna yung talagang totally and permanently unable to earn an income. Dapat yung
Madam
gano'n. Dapat
Chair.
sila unahin, no? So kasama dyan yung sobrang tanda ng PWD, sobrang batang maliliit pa na mga paslit na hindi naman pwedeng kumita pa at magtrabaho. Yun ang uunahin. Yun nga ang rine-recommend natin. Na yung severe, total, yung impairment gets in the way of earning an income. Siguro yun ang phase 1 na talaga. No? Kasi incapable. Yung iba naman, hanapan nga natin ways and means to capacitate them to earn a living. All right? And Ms. Garcia, please.
Madam Chair, siguro po pwede din po natin, strategy po, pwede nating i-visit yung mekanismo ng PORPIS, how they do it. Kasi di ba po, before po siya naging law, program lang po muna siya. And in terms of funding, I think there was a way
Hindi, ang problema nga natin, baliktad eh. Galing-galing nga natin magpasa ng sangkatutak na batas, lahat walang pondo.
Ayun nga po.
Dapat baliktarin naman natin. Hanapin muna natin ang
Pondo.
Kasi
Ayun po.
na para na tayong
Opo,
pangako.
parang na-appreciate ko lang din personally yung sa 4Ps, how they did do it. Parang program lang siya until na naging, na-establish yung law. So, yun po. Paano yung mekanismo ng 4Ps na nakakuha po sila ng fund
Naglaan
for
ng
it?
budget. Naglaan ng budget for pilot projects in 2007 for a very small subsection of the qualified group, di ba? Nag-umpisa ng 2007 under Secretary Cabral. It was a very small subsection. And after that, nagkaroon ng phase 2, tapos lumaki ng phase 3. Di ba? Ganon na nangyari sa atin.
So-
Finally, naging batas under President Duterte. Pero mahabang proseso yon from President Macapagal all the way to President Duterte. Pero nag-umpisa sa budget. Kaya gusto ko, mag-umpisa tayo sa paghahanap ng budget. Yes, Asek Dumlao, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Tahimik ka.
I was just listening to the discussion, but I'd just like to manifest, Madam Chair, that yes, there's a need to do targeting. There should be a way to marry yung CBMS with the Philippine Registry for Persons with Disabilities so we could strengthen its use and ensure that local government units encode all the information that they have doon sa registry nito. Kasi it's nakaset na, Madam Chair eh. It's just a matter of maximizing its use. Pangalawa, improve our monitoring. Kasi tama po, are a lot of programs being implemented by various government agencies, but
Kasi nga walang penalty.
But there is really a need to know and determine if our persons with disabilities, as identified in our targeting mechanism, are able to access all of these. And then from there, we could identify kung ano ba nga ang ipaprioritize natin of the persons with disabilities dun sa sinasabi nga ng NEDA that there should be progressive realization.
Yeah, the other thing is I'm wondering if we shouldn't first put together, I just did it for the heck of it, lahat ng mga benepisyo, pribilehyo, exemption, discount, ipagkaisa natin. Kasi we're not even aware of them eh. Nalaman ko lang kasi kanina, kinakalkal ko, ang dai-dai eh. Pero walang ngipin. Unang-una, walang sanction. Ikalawa, wala naman nagmo-monitor. Walang nagmo-monitor and evaluate kung talagang natutupad ba yan. And siguro, for example, the corporations that are actively, the private corporations, dapat may incentive din yan eh. Kasi kung talagang kumukuha sila ng may kapansanan, dapat tulungan din sila, even in the assistive devices man lang, di ba? Kasi gumagastos sila sa rampa, sa wheelchairs, sa iba't ibang bagay. So, it's incoherent. Ibig ko sabihin, ang gulo-gulo na, sabog-sabog na, kanya-kanyang pasa na lang ng batas, hindi na sila tumutugma sa isa't isa. In the meantime, yung intended beneficiaries, wala naman nararamdaman na tulong. So maybe that's the first thing we need to do is try to put together all the existing laws and see if there's a rationale. And then baka naman sa pag-aaral na yun, makahanap na rin tayo ng pera. Kasi makita mo, may DOLE, may DOH, may DepEd, may DSWD, may kung ano-ano, may DILG and local government. Everyone's putting a little bit in. Pero nobody can actually afford to carry the entire burden. So I think we need to put it all together. Ambag-ambag na lang to.
Yeah,
Madam
we
Chair.
agree to that, Madam Chair. And if there's really a need to come up with another program for the persons with
I
disabilities.
think there is. There's
Then-
no doubt. It's just how to afford it. We need
Yeah.
to finance it, whether in phases or with identified extremely debilitated sectors.
Yes, Madam Chair. And if we are to pattern it with the 4Ps, with the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, perhaps our international development partners can provide assistance because that's how we started.
Sorry?
International development partners.
Oh, nangutang.
Yes, well, because that's how we started with the
Sabi ng
4Ps.
utang ng Pilipinas, no?
That's how we
Pero
started.
medyo maxed out na tayo, di ba? Sa pangungutang, ayaw na natin kasi we're very conservative and
Yes, Madam Chair.
maingat.
Oo
At
nga.
saka there are lessons to be learned din dyan kasi maraming nag-object sa pangungutang sa 4Ps na hindi naman yan infrastructure, di naman yan heavy equipment na magbabayad.
That's
It's
correct.
not an investment as such. Of course, the argument can be made that it's an investment in
Investment of the
human
human
capital, but the reality is it's not going to pay you back very quickly in cash and kind.
Yes, Madam Chair. That is why that's probably one of the things that we could consider. But then, of course, we would like to emphasize that while we are providing this assistance to our persons with disabilities, let us not forget yung pong pag-ensure ng full participation of persons with disabilities
Ayun
in all
nga.
aspects of
Oh.
social and economic life. Ensure their full participation in
Tama.
nation building.
Well, that's right. And that's where the DOLE and the rest come
Yes,
in
ma'am,
because
if
we
I
really
may.
need to capacitate everyone. Kung pwede naman magtrabaho, mas may dignidad naman at may honor kapag nagtatrabaho, no?
Madam Chair,
Who's that?
ako po, Miss Evangelista.
Yes.
Ma'am, baka pwede po makonsider natin yung EO 417, yung Economic Independence for PWDs, wherein 10% of
417. What year po?
2005 po, under President Arroyo. Yung 10% procurement po ng mga government agencies binibigay sa mga PWD cooperatives. Baka po pwedeng i-expand po ito sa mga...
PWD cooperative.
Yes, cooperative po. For yung pong ano siya, yung
Wala
mga...
kasi akong experience na
Katulad po sa DepEd, yung mga furniture, school furnitures po, tsaka teacher's table, binibigay lang po ito sa mga PWD cooperative. Baka po pwedeng ipa-expand po ito sa DPOs, Disabled People's Organization, like mga non-profit organization, like Tahanang Walang Hagdanan. Hindi po kami maka-join sa ganun kasi po hindi po kami cooperative. But we have more than 200 PWDs in Tahanang Walang Hagdanan.
Yes, I was going to ask, what are the larger PWD co-ops? Parang wala akong naririnig.
Wala na po
malaking
sila ngayon yung
PWD.
National Federation.
Sabi niyo yung EO makes reference to a PWD co-op. May malaki bang co-op na
Wala nga po
handa
eh.
makipag-bidding sa government?
Wala po. Ang
Parang
nangyayari,
meron bang
yes,
ganun?
wala po. Ang nangyayari po, nakikipag-JV sila sa mas malalaki na company. Kumbaga, naka-front lang po sila. Parang ganun ang nangyayari. Pero
Parang
mahigpit
hindi
naman
rin
po.
tama yun.
Opo.
Very gratuitous naman and
Yeah, opo.
tokenism naman yata ang mangyayari.
Kaya nga po yun ang umaaray kami. Hindi po kami maka-join talaga. Kasi hindi po kami cooperative.
Kaya nga ako nagtataka dito sa co-ops. Kasi sa pakiwari ko, wala namang
Yes, opo.
qualified na mag-bid dyan. May
Yes.
platinum ranking or whatever it is.
Yes, yes, madam.
Yeah,
Thank
but that's a good idea. I think certain government contracts can well be made, maybe produced by our PWDs. Sige. Yes, Asik, were you gonna say something? Anybody going to add anything po? Miss Orsolino sa Dole kasi nabanggit nga yung trabaho.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, magandang hapon po. I was just about to add sana about the source of funds. We've been talking about that. We have existing programs in Dole like the DILIP, the Dole Integrated Livelihood and Emergency Employment Program, of which Madam Chair has already mentioned. Pwede po nating i-maximize to. Someone from there is mentioning na hindi sila co-op, but they can form an association of which they can avail of the DILIP. We have the Kabuhayan, ma'am, Kabuhayan program,
That's
and we
right.
have the TUPAD. So, pwede lang po mag-submit lang ng mga requirements and then,
DSW din,
yes,
meron
ma'am.
na DepEd, DOH.
Yan lang po,
So,
ma'am.
hindi ko sinasabi na out na. Out na yung stipend, yung 2,000. Hindi ko sinasabi yon. Ang sinasabi ko lang, pansamantala, ang unang gawin natin, ilikom muna lahat ng nandyan. Kasi sabog-sabog sila, tapos hindi ninyo na-avail. I'm sure, hindi ninyo nababalitaan yung sinasabi nilang startup na livelihood program ng Dole. Pero meron nun.
ma'am,
Meron
yeah.
din yung DSWD. Lahat yan, may mga KKK, meron SEAP, may SLP. Ang dami-dami niyan. Pero, di ko pa nababalitaan ni minsan na yung may kapansanan na grupo, nag-avail niyan. Kasi hindi nga sila informed. So perhaps what we should start with, if you will allow me, mag-TWG po tayo at ipunin natin lahat ng existing, tapos simulan na natin yung pinaka-extremely severely incapacitated. At yun ang tulungan muna mag-phase 1. In the meantime, yung mga iba, i-avail muna natin yung iba't ibang kailangan. Ha? O, tama ba yun? Okay ba yun? Start muna tayo para makapag-umpisa lang kasi nakakasama na ng loob itong diskusyon na to eh. Nakakainis na. It's not bagay to
Madam-
us. Parati lang walang pera.
Madam
Invest.
Senator.
Wait I have to go and take a picture. So, I'll suspend and come back. down. So, if you will, kung papayag po kayo, marami tayong kailangan pag-usapan, pero sa kabila nito, siguro mas mainam mag-TWG na po tayo. Total kompleto na naman tayong lahat dito. At ang sipag-sipag ninyo magbigay ng position paper. Sangkatutak na yung position paper, marami tayong ideas. Pero ngayon, maliwanag yung problema natin na naghahanap tayo ng pera. Ayun. Pero, I think there have been good ideas already mooted. I'm certain that more and better solutions will come up in a TWG. So kung maaari, yung iba't ibang grupo, lalong-lalo na yung DOLE, DSWD, DepEd, at sana isa sa ating DBM, makalahok doon sa TWG para unang-una pag-isipan natin, lalo na sa DOH, manamagan tayo sa DOH. Meron bang kinatawan dito ang DOH? Ba't hindi ka nagtawag? Dapat nagtawag. Ay, nagtawag. O sige, kumbidahin na lang natin yung DOH para maintindihan natin na maigi ang ibig sabihin ng severely incapacitated. Kasi marami tayong sinasabing severe, pero kanya-kanyang definition. Huwag tayo maubos sa definition. At siguro yun ang kinakailangan phase 1. No? I-phase 1 muna natin yung severe at yung talagang walang kakayahan, katulad ng pinaka-bedridden na matatanda at saka yung mga batang paslit, ano? So, stay yun muna. Ikalawa, dun naman sa may kakayahan, kahit konti, kahit kulang, sabihin na nga natin na kung may kakayahan, bigyan ng pagkakataon. So, I think we need to go through all the departments, all the laws, and finally come out with a list of things that we can actually provide them, in many cases with very little or no extra allocations at all. May ganun kasi nandyan na rin siya sa batas Sabi nga ni Ms. Orsolino, sa kanila meron naman silang binibigay. Kay ASEC Dumlao, alam ko na meron naman tayong binibigay sa DSWD. Sa DOH, talaga naman pinaprioritize ang may kapansanan. So, let's put them all in a menu so that we can provide these services and these goods in many cases, and even loans and even grants and employment in one list that we can at least offer something to our PWDs. Hindi naman talagang zero. At kahit mag-umpisa tayo sana doon sa severely, sabihin na natin ano kaya number nun para hindi naman tayo mapako doon sa 17 billion na nakakahimatay.
Ma'am, may I say something?
Yes po, Attorney
Ma'am,
Kiano.
at this point in time, we are so impressed because you're now the focal person of this sector. And I think
I don't know if I'm the focal person. I'm just
it is appearing.
stuck with trying to find money.
So my suggestion,
I don't think you guys have heard that we're Ilocano, no?
ma'am, our
Really
suggestion,
not
ma'am.
my favorite thing in the world.
Ma'am, our suggestion, ma'am, is maybe at this point in time, if you can identify for us the convener's team or the
Yun na nga
team.
I'm thinking, I think ASEC Dumlao, you have no choice. You have to join the TWG thing for the DSWD sector. Ms. Orsolino, you have to come na nga and join us. I don't know who from NEDA or DBM could join us. DOH, we totally need them. Kalampagin mo na lang, Bet. At saka yung DOLE, and then representatives as they'd like. Nako, hiyang-hiya na nga ako. Sa totoo lang, nagpapaumanin po ako kasi Martes to, hindi dapat nagkakaroon ng Commission on Appointments. Kaya lang sa dami ng naalintalang appointee, nagkaroon kami ng hearing, wala naman akong kakayahan din na i-postpone pa, knowing na Miss Llanos came from Zamboanga, the rest came from Pangasinan, ayoko na mag-postpone, kaya pasensya, putol-putol. Pero, ayan ang utos ng panahon. So, let's just try and do that. And then I will volunteer you accordingly. Ayan naman. Kayo
Madam.
ng, yes, sali ka sa NAPSI.
When ma'am agyaman kami ma'am ta
Okay.
aditoy ka kanyami ta suportahan da kami. And we
Yeah.
also support you
We
ma'am.
have to find a way di ba? At hindi naman pwedeng zero lagi. Nakakahiya na to. So, yun. Let's do that. Beth, you take care of the TWG. So, two things, ano? Alamin natin kung sino talaga yung mga pinaka-severe. Tapos, yung phase 1, ideally with a view towards a 3-year, 5-year program, sabay dasal. Tapos, ikalawa, yung menu. Yung menu natin ng mga existing goods and services already provided by the various departments, including, like in the case of Pangasinan, including yung mga LGU nang nagsusumikap talaga na sagutin ang pangangailangan ng may kapansanan. Okay? So, any other ideas? Miss Evangelista, sama naman kayo kasi may experience na kayo sa tahanang walang hagdanan. Ayun, sama na rin sila. Tapos yung mga matsatsaga, yung mga NGOs yung mga NGOs kasi sanay kayo na walang allocation, nabubuhay pa rin. Kaya kayo dapat ang nangunguna sa mga diskusyong katulad nito. Okay. Sige. All right. So let's do that. Let's do our very best na wag naman mabigo itong intensyon natin makatulong sa may kapansanan. At sigurado naman ako natutulungan naman tayo. Sa DBM, Attorney Baraan, if you could also provide us, kasi mas memorize ninyo yung mga sekreto ng GAA. Baka naman may mga nakatago dyan. She's right. Yeah, Miss Julius Guerra, I'm corrected. Yes, there's an EO 417, pero kaninong EO to?
Kasi ay kay Arroyo.
Pero wala na siya.
Pinapaaral ko po sa
Parang
DBM.
hindi na, is it still in force and effect? Iba na yung executive eh. That's the problem. Ganun ba yun? Naglalapse ba ang EO pagkatapos ng admin? Pero wala na akong narinig na ganyan kailanman, sa totoo lang. Anyway, but you're right to cite this. I'm sorry, I was ignorant about it because I never experienced such a 1%. But yes, it's in existence, therefore there's a precedent. We should use it as a result. May 1% pala rito. Okay. Alam mo, that's the traditional bawas. Pero kung bibilangin mo lahat ng bawas PCSO, PAGCOR, travel tax, airport tax, mga 238% na yung bawas. Kaya parang last resort. But I think it's very difficult. But yeah, we can think of everything. Pero ala chamba kasi yun ayoko ng ganun Pero yeah, sure. Let's put it in there. But perhaps DBM, if you could help us look for monies in the different departments that somehow refer to our PWDs and assisting them in some way. Miss Mata, please.
Yes, as I mentioned a while ago, Madam Chair, about
Volunteer ang NAPSI, maliit na nga yung budget ninyo.
Hindi po, ma'am. So, ito po yung, ma'am, na-mention ko kanina yung 1%. Kasi meron po nung 2013, either Article 31 or 33 for the 1% budget for persons with disabilities and senior citizens. So, yung isang paragraph po doon about accessibility and the second is the creation of programs, services for persons with disabilities and senior citizens. But after 2013 po, after 2011, hindi ko lang po, hindi na po siya na-mention, natanggal na po. Kasi we assume
Kaya
na
that's why I was
continue
saying,
po.
this is an old EO Baka it's no
Separate
longer
siya,
in
ma'am.
force.
Opo, separate po yun sa EO
iba kayo.
417, ma'am. Yes. That's more of 10% of the procurement po ang for persons with disabilities naman po. And other regions are using that po for the hospitals. One example po is Region 2 for the hospital linens, bed linens po ng Region 2. I forgot if it's Isabela, ma'am, or basta nasa Region 2, ma'am, or sa part ng Cagayan Valley po. So, kasi isang council member po namin from Region 2, Miss CM Amid Senes po, ay isa po na pa-practice po nilang EO 417 po. Yun po, thank you.
417. Okay. Yes, so tatlo yung homework natin. Nakalimutan ko yung ikatlo. Unang-una, maghanap tayo ng estimate dun sa mga severely incapacitated. Ikalawa, yung iba't ibang benepisyo na binibigay na sa kasalukuyan ng iba't ibang ahensya, including local governments, kasi maraming local government na talagang nagpupumiglas na tulungan ng ating mga may kapansanan. Ikatlo, huwag natin kakalimutan yung dapat patawan ng parusa. Kasi napaka-bad example ng ating pamahalaan. Tayo mismo ang number one violator ng lahat ng sinasaad tungkol sa PWD, yung mga public buildings na walang rampa, walang assistive devices, walang katulong-tulong sa ating mga PWD. So, siguro, pag-aralan na rin natin ang parusa, sanctions and penalties for violators, no? Kasi alam natin na napakaraming violation. Ano, pwede rin sa DOLE? Yung mga hindi nagwa 1% labor.
Yes, ma'am. Siguro we will ask the Bureau of Working Conditions for the inspection
Oo,
kung merong
diba?
data tungkol dito.
Random check
Yes,
sila,
ma'am.
mag-visitation.
Yes,
At
ma'am.
yun nga ang sinasabi ni Asik Dumlaw kanina, wala naman MND, no monitoring, no evaluation. Andyan yung batas, more honored in the breach. So we can't allow that. So I guess that's the third piece of homework. Let's try to have the TWG as soon as possible. We don't have very many session days left in this session. Pero tuloy-tuloy natin, pursigihin natin to. Parati kong sinasabi tuwing umiikot at may senior citizens tayo, may solo parents, bakit wala pa rin PWD? Hindi ba dapat nauna yon? Ano ba yun? So, lagi tayo nagpapaumanhin, lagi tayo nagsosorry, pero hindi sapat yon. Kailangan tulungan na. Okay, Attorney Ramos, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding the penalties you mentioned po, parang perhaps one suggestion would be to amend BP 344 in terms of penalties because under BP 344, the penalty is only 2 to 5,000 if you don't comply. So for a lot of building administrators or owners, I would rather pay 5,000 than comply. So I think that's one area po that we can
Tama. Minuscule na siya. Kasi batas pambansa pa lang yan. Panahon pa ng ama ko. Talagang hindi na hindi na sapat yung mga pinapataw na parusa, pinagtatawanan pa. So, yes, that's correct. That's a very good suggestion. Yes,
Madam
Mr. Carao.
President.
Yes, Madam Chair. Just regarding lang po doon sa papaano natin makuha yung data nung sa mga people with severe disabilities and so forth. Currently po, mayroong pinapilot na project about disability and needs assessment system po sa Batangas. At gusto po namin ding introduce yon sa inyo at sa mga kasama natin. Baka makatulong po kung paano mas magiging streamline po yung pagkuha. Kung sino ba talaga yung mangangailangan at sino po yung may mga support pang needed po na ma-align dun sa mga programs and services na meron
Yes,
tayo.
please share that with us if you have access. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Corpus, please.
Opo. One of the severe, kapag ka isang araw hindi makainom ng gamot ang epileptic po,
Ayun, tama.
ay namimilipit po sila. So, pinaparating po ng grupo po ang kailangan na isa sila sa mauna. And secondly po, Madam
Tama, that's
Chairman,
fair. I
opo.
think that's entirely justified, yes.
Yes, na sana po ay ma-represent po ng mga persons with disability in the legislation. Kasi po, meron po kaming slogan, nothing about us without us. So, sana po ay iparating ko ang ating, napakarami pong solo parent at nauna pa sila, sabi niyo po, dahil nga po ay walang representation po at wala pang ahensya ng gobyerno po ang persons with disability.
Wala ring ahensya ang solo parent.
Pero nauna sila kasi nga meron po silang mga kaparaanan na representation. Yun po yun.
Yes, thank you very much. Anyone want to add anything
Madam
to the
Chair.
session? Yes, very quickly, please.
I would like to manifest our intention to help the homework na binigay mo, ma'am. Yung looking for the sino matalaang dapat mabigyan. So, mga person with disability affairs offices, mga LGU, meron na kami ngayong 998 na dapat na 1,700 kami, pero 998 pa lang, pero ang count nyo lang talaga dyan nasa 500 pa lang. Hahanap kami ng paraan at meron naman kami data anuhin lang namin, lang namin, sino pinakauna, noon kami makakatulong.
Thank you very much. Malaking tulong yan. Okay, so
May may
I
nalimutan
really
po.
have to wind this down. Attorney Ramos.
Yes, on behalf of the National Council on Disability Affairs, as the agency for persons with disability, we would like to manifest our intention to help with the TWG. Actually, Madam Chair, with regard to the laws in our website, all the applicable laws are already there, but you can help consolidate and like summarize,
Pero
like
magulo
put the
sila.
highlights.
Magulo
Yes.
sila. Ay, nakalista. It's a laundry list. It's not
Yes.
very helpful. WD with a non-legal background, babasahin ko yun, wala akong maintindihan.
Yes po. So we
Kasi
were willing to help out
nagkokontra
po.
rin yung isa't sa isa eh. Hindi naman sila na magkakapareho. I-tabulate natin ang
Yes.
madaling intindihin at yung hindi magulo yung pag-a-access kasi
Yes.
meron DSWD livelihood, meron din sa DOLE, iba-iba yung requirements, mahihilo ka talaga eh. Yes, last, Miss Corpus, please.
Nalimutan ko po, yung Republic Act 9442, Madam, na napakaraming nabubuli at nalalait na kahit sa social media, kahit sa mga artista or sa iba't ibang mga TikTok, ganon. Sana po, kasi maraming pera po doon, 50,000 po at 100,000 po ang punishment doon or penalty. So sana po ay mapaigting po ito, ma'am, at sana po ay merong paraan na anong ahensya ba ng gobyerno po? Opo, sa Republic Act 9442 po, vilification po. Napakarami po, bawat araw po. So kapag ka maipatupad po yun, at kanino po, anong ahensya ng gobyerno po? DOJ or wala po
I'm
eh.
not sure if it's DICT, DOST, DOJ.
Kung saan
Pero sa ibang committee na yon, i-refer natin sa ibang committee kasi hindi yan paksa na sakop ko eh.
Hindi po, yung
Pero
pong
i-refer
penalty
natin
po.
sa iba.
Yung pong penalty po, mas
Penalty
malaki po doon.
sa kanila. Penalty sa cyberbullying yon.
Mhm.
Ibang batas kasi yun eh. Hindi na sumasailalim sa akin.
Okay po.
Pero we'll refer it to them because I believe that that's a very serious consideration. Yes, last na last. Kayo talaga. Tara na.
Thank you, ma'am. Last po.
Absent na ako sa session.
Opo, the mapping, siguro yung aside from the laws po na itatabulate, siguro yung mapping of all the programs and services from the national down to the local level.
Kasama na yun.
And
Kasama na yun. That's
saan po
what
makikita
we
yung
intend.
entry point po ng mga persons with disabilities at different stage levels po
Oo,
nila?
dapat gawin ninyo yon kasi nakakalito talaga eh. Kung ililista lang ninyo yung mga batas, maski ako hindi ko naintindihan eh. Kasi iba-iba yung requirement ng bawat department, iba-iba yung kinakailangan, iba-iba yung definition kung ano yung PWD, hindi nga magkasundo eh.
Yes, Madam Chair, we're committing to help do that po.
Now na.
Yes po.
Okay. Thank you very much to everyone. I'm sorry I've been in such a mad rush and this has been a little bit of a crazy committee hearing. That being said, mabuti na kesa sa wala kasi talagang pinagpipilitan ko na matapos din ang diskusyon na ito kahit papano at wag sana tayo mabigo kaya hanapan natin ng paraan at ang huli na lang, I'm very happy to announce that I met a really extraordinary person, and that's the first blind person who passed the Philippine bar. He comes from Baguio City. He's a young man called Attorney Mark Emokling. He's the very first one to finish the bar. No braille. No special assistive devices. He just had a small device and did it via audio, which makes things even that much harder. So that's the good news for the day. Things are looking up, and I'm certain that more and more of our PWDs will prove us wrong, that they are in fact especially capacitated. Thank you very much. So sorry.